Welcome back, everyone. My name is Allie Parkinson, and I'm here with Becky, and we are going to continue our learning with informational writing. We just completed learning about grade level criteria for informational writing. In today's session, we'll focus more on the resources that you'll use with informational writing. One of the things I want you to know is as we prepare each session, we're taking some time to look at the feedback on Google Forms that you have completed. Many of you completed the information after watching the last session. And that feedback's really important for us. It helps shape our next presentations. And so what we've tried to do is take informational writing and really present it in small digestible bites. We talk about that with Marzano, and so that you hear little parts of informational writing and can really think about what that how that can be applied for you. And so you'll see again the same structure from narrative writing. There'll be some repeated parts that allow you to focus on the specifics of resources for just informational, and hopefully all of these dots are starting to connect for you. And so we are going to get started talking about resources, and I will turn things over to Becky.
Resources. So basically, what we're talking about is teacher resources and student resources. Teachers are always, the first question they always have is, how do I get started with this? And that's where you're looking for the resources. So when you're writing informational text type, really you're thinking about two basic things. You're thinking about a topic and a format. And so if I say, for example, dogs might be the topic our kids want to explore. Everybody has some experience and knowledge about dogs. So it'd be a good area for me to choose as a class model. I could, in writing about dogs, I could use the all about books format. I could be talking about the different breeds. I could be talking about exercise, nutrition, healthcare. I could be talking about how to train a dog, but I could definitely use the all about books format. But maybe I want to take that same information and put it on an informational web page, or I could write an informational article. National Geographic for Kids, I could put that article online, or I could create a hard copy magazine type of format to share my information about dogs. You can see as we take a topic and look at the different formats that what you're really considering is audience, aren't you? What format is going to hit what audience? Maybe I want to think about the how-to books and write a piece on how to train my puppy, how to train a puppy. I could do a documentary. My friend Billy just got a new puppy. I could take some video capture of how they are working to train their puppy, or I could write instructions on how to train a puppy, or even prepare an oral presentation on how to train puppies. So basically, you start by picking a topic and deciding on which format you're going to use. Next, you look for a mentor text for that informational text type. So we know there are lots of traditional hard copy mentor texts that you can pick from. But today, we also have to be aware that if you're picking a digital tool, you need to have a digital mentor text that is going to be used to, prepare the writing in that way. Now, if you look at the digital mentor text, it has the same criteria that your traditional informational text type writing includes. For example, right here, on this web page is where you introduce the topic or the focus. Here, you can see web pages are great for grouping information because you just click on those different sections. Once you get inside, you'll see how does this author, develop the topic. Does he use details, definitions, facts, quotations, whatever? So it doesn't make any difference which text type you have. You're going to be doing the same process of planning. But I do want to point out this nonfiction mentor text, and we do have a copy of this in our instructional library here, professional library out at MSCC. But this resource for nonfiction and for fiction, what's great about it is you can find chapters that would be mentor texts for informational text type leads, or mentor text for informational text type conclusions. That is pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
One of the questions that came up repeatedly with the feedback on informational writing is where are we at with the mentor text book collections in our district? And our committee hopes to purchase resources, mentor texts for all buildings with this textbook adoption, if you will, that's coming up. Similar to what we did last time around when we purchased books for every library. You have books that are multiple copied books in your kit rooms in your schools, and we have small leveled library collections in your library. And so our hope with this textbook adoption, especially when we roll out a writing resource in the fall, is that we have already purchased mentor texts for a collection in your school, and that will be available to you. Many of you in your feedback have also indicated books that you are using as mentor texts for your lessons as you're trying narrative writing and trying informational writing. And I want to thank you for that. Your teacher recommendation of mentor texts that have worked for you are really important to us as a committee as we look at these lists, we look at resources like this book. And so continue to share that with us, share that with committee members so that we can make sure that our collections that we're purchasing are collections that are a fit for you.
So it doesn't make any difference if you're looking at a hard copy mentor text. This is National Geographic for Kids, everything dogs. Or if you're looking at a web page, it's going to be the same planning process where you name and notice the criteria that you taught for informational text type to your group. Now, some of you are able to go to Owocki's resources and you're able to teach your grade level, what she describes as your grade level criteria. Some of you have to go down a couple of grades. So whatever level of criteria that you've taught your students, you need to find a mentor text that's going to match that. So in my planning, I just take one of these story maps and I record in there what are the author's exact words for how he introduces the topic and what that lead might be called. I write his exact words for the type of conclusion that he's using in that informational mentor text. I record what are the categories of information that he's using to develop the topic and how extensively. I write the exact words of the facts, of the details, of the quotations from that mentor text. So I am thoroughly prepared to be able to name and notice the criteria of informational text type that I'm teaching, but that criteria in my mentor text. So really, in your planning, you need to thoroughly know two things. What is the criteria that you're teaching your kids? And where is it specifically in the mentor text that you've chosen? So we know that in working with mentor text, for example, this magazine article, I always seem to focus a lot on just asking kids, what does the text say? And actually, Owocki says that when you're working in writer's workshop, we need to make sure that we are asking about the writing. And that shifts your question from what does the text say to how is the text written. You know, this is a shift that is, it appears to be a small change, but actually it makes a big difference. So the mentor texts, this particular mentor text, it says right on the cover that it's using facts, photos, and fun. That's how this author wrote this text. Another question in that same light would be, what did the author do in writing this information. This is an example of a piece, again, about dogs, but this author has used a frequently asked question format. You know, thinking about the audiences that you have, I love frequently asked question formats because I go specifically to find my question, find the answer. For kids that don't want to read a lot, they still can get into the meaning quickly and efficiently. So that's how this author worked with the content in this piece. Interesting. Here's another example, cats versus dogs. What is the author doing here? You know, this is where in Writer's Workshop, the teacher is there to help analyze that craft with the kids. You know, how does the author introduce the topic? Why does the author use an exclamation mark in that title? You know, does this author group information into parts? Does the author use expert words to teach the reader about this topic? We analyze the craft moves of the author in Writer's Workshop. So here, let's look at a professional model. Everybody knows Cynthia Rylant. So if you're studying metamorphosis, change in life science, and kids are reading in the topic of butterflies, here would be an informational text type model that would be classic for a mentor text in Writing Workshop. Listen to her opening. The wings of a butterfly seem so delicate that it's hard to imagine this fragile insect traveling much farther than from flower to flower. But one beautiful butterfly, the monarch butterfly, is stronger than it looks. I always think mentor text, you can feel the craft. Rylant is known for her use of voice as a strong craft feature in her writing. You know, when students get good at recognizing craft in the professional models, that's when they start having the ability to transfer that and produce that in their own writing. Kelly Gallagher writes a book called Write Like This, and it's all about the use of mentor texts. He says in there, to learn to do something unfamiliar, we stand next to someone who knows how to do it. And the resources for the informational text type writers, Nick Bishop, Adler has written for years, Russell Freeman, Gail Gibbons, Seymour Simon. We have beautiful and varied models of informational text type out there for kids. Gallagher says that if we want students to write persuasive arguments, to write interesting explanatory pieces, or captivating narratives, we have to help them read, analyze, and emulate this kind of writing.
In our past sessions, we spent quite a bit of time building capacity with the Common Core, reviewing the criteria of the Common Core, looking at the grade level expectations and so on. And you begin to quickly realize that our capacity as teachers is so into knowing what the criteria is so important as we begin to apply it into our planning of the lessons. And so the better understanding you have as a teacher with the craft, the better you will be able to bring that out when you are using mentor text with children.
So this is a commonly asked question. How do I know I've got a mentor text, like a mentor text? Honestly, it took me about a year to be able to answer that, but there's basically just two pieces of a criteria that you know. You need, the first criteria is it has to be a model of the text type that you're teaching. So right now, you need a model of an informational text type that goes with the topic that you're teaching. But it has to have that added plus of good author's craft. And then you know you have a mentor text for Writer's Workshop. This Rylant example is a beautiful example of a good mentor text for Writing Workshop. Gallagher also says that we must teach students to imitate these models or these model texts before they write, as they write, and then as they revise. And you can see in this sequence here of instruction that, again, it starts out with the ear, doesn't it? Where this teacher is likely reading mentor texts that have to do with craft, likely in this example with conclusions. Through the course of study in this classroom, teachers will make anchor charts that have the specific words of endings from various professional models, various mentor texts that you've talked about in your classroom. And so you'll collect the exact author's words, and you will even name what kind of conclusion, what kind of informational text type conclusion the author used. Students use these anchor charts then that are up in the classroom as they are creating and revising. So here a student has his writer's log that he has likely, he's trying to create the conclusion to his informational piece, and maybe he's going to try it in 3 different ways that he knows professional writers have used to conclude informational text writing. So imitating the model before they write, as they write, and then as they revise. An additional resource we want to give you, and this is just brand new, is a student resource actually that comes out of Calkins again. It's in a book called Writing Pathways, which I highly, highly recommend. But she has sections in there on the various text types and resources that you can use. What I've pulled is the informational writing checklist, and this is for students, and she has them at every grade level, which is beautiful. So she is asking the child to look here at structure. She's saying, you know, did I write a paragraph to get the reader ready to learn information about the subject? Did I write an ending that drew conclusions or asked questions or suggested ways readers might respond? Did I group my information, each part mostly about one thing that connects to my big topic? And kids have to self-evaluate then based on structure. She has a second part to it that it looks at the development of informational text type writing. Did I write facts, details, definition, and observations about my topic and shared them? Did I use expert words to teach? That's your domain-specific vocabulary to teach that content. Did I use drawings, captions, diagrams? Again, not yet, starting to, or yes. And then the third part of the informational writing checklist has to do with the writing conventions. You know, did I use others? Did I conference with others to check spelling and punctuation? While writing, did I punctuate at the end of every sentence? Did I help the reader to know how to read with expression? Read some parts more quickly, some slowly. Again, the child self-evaluates on these checklists. This is a beautiful resource that gets the child very metacognitive about the criteria of informational text type and looking at his or her own writing and other student writing to help improve it and to make it better.
And currently we have a request in to Lucy Calkins to allow us to just try these checklists without having purchased the book for every teacher in our district. So we're just awaiting for approval from her. But certainly this resource is a brand new book that we'll likely draw from as we continue down our writing implementation for next year. And these checklists are student friendly, but they will also help us as a committee as we look at rubrics and assessments for our district.
So all of that is evidence why you watch the Hub all the time, because new things are developing and coming in. So the last part about resources is how I organize my teaching at my grade level. And how you teach at your grade level really is how everybody teaches at every grade level now. We all, Calkins has the same predictable format for every anchor. We all start with the demonstration, where students get that clear demonstration. They understand the purpose of how this is going to, whatever strategy or behavior that you're teaching them, how that's going to help their writing. And you do a think aloud to model how that particular strategy is used. In informational text type, your demonstrations are mini lessons that are specific to informational text type. Actually, you see a mini lesson on crafting a title, crafting a strong introduction, crafting a sense of closure. That is also done in narrative text types, but it's informational text types have their own specific introductions and closures. But the top here, finding a meaningful topic, organizing, into paragraph sections, developing of the content through facts, definitions, details, quotations, examples, and then the diagrams, the hyperlinking, the charts and graphs that I have always called just text type features in informational writing. Those first 4 mini lessons are totally unique to informational writing, and it's the only place where kids are going to get this instruction. So we demonstrate the informational writing mini lessons, and then she says the second structure we use is collaborative engagement. And in collaborative engagement, that's where we're working with others. What are we doing? We're analyzing and evaluating writing. Writing that belongs to students, writing that belongs to professional authors in mentor texts. We're also conferring with the teacher and conferring with peers. On every one of these slides, you're going to see the citation in Owocki where you find her writing. So on collaborative engagement, it's page 64 to 66. The third part of the structure in every classroom is going to be the independent application. And we know for informational writing, these are the specific text types that she has talked about. All about the how-to informational articles, if they're hard copy or if they are digital, to research and lab reports, web pages, oral presentations. I think you have these probably memorized by now, and these are located on 67 through 71. So this concludes our section on resources. We hope that we've given you some strong, small digestible bites that you can start implementing in your writer's workshop.